Hey, and welcome to another episode of Age of Geek podcast. I am Collin, and I am brought to you here with two of our friends of the podcast. Good old Blake, aka Hobez.
It's reversed now.
Hobez, aka Blake.
go.
I'm so
There
sorry.
you go.
I'm
The-
so
Nick-
sorry.
Hobbs is
that I
taking
butchered
over who
that.
I actually am.
You are now.
It's really important you call him by his real name.
You
Yeah.
are now Chef Hobez,
Chef Hobez.
the chef of chefs.
Makes great bagels.
It's great.
The best bagels.
The best of bagels that aren't really bagels. But we'll get into that in a minute. And we have NotAVampire, who is a streamer upon streamers.
I also personally make YouTube videos. I'm kidding, Hobbs does.
Hey.
I mean, I hear your editor is really hot and really sexy.
Honestly, I just gave him the job because I'm trying to, get in there.
I can vouch for the hotness if that helps.
Yeah.
It does help. Yeah.
I feel like we do need to address something before we begin here.
Yeah, I also go by Jordan. You could also use Jordan.
Oh, also by Jordan. Yes, that's what I was going to address.
Yeah, that would
not
be
the fact that you're not a vampire, but you might be dressed like a vampire.
Oh no. This is just what I had in my closet, and it was a little cold, so I threw on the. This is actually a blanket.
Because everyone likes to wear clothing that is centuries old.
It's not centuries old. I had this made recently.
It's his nighttime.
What do you take me for?
Do you have a vampire tailor?
Tailor? Vampires aren't real, Collin.
That's why that's his name.
All right.
No, it's my name because people keep asking, "Are you a vampire?" And I have to keep saying no, so I've started leading with it.
I'm curious though, with your logo up there, for the video people that are watching, it looks like fangs.
No, it looks like Fang.
Like a fang. Yes, I'm sorry. It's just the one fang. You're right. Yeah. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, that's okay. Common mistake, happens all the time.
All right.
Have you heard of a game called Eco?
I have heard of a game called Eco. I hear it's what the people call the shiz.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'd give it a solid 5 out of 7.
Perfect.
What an odd scale.
Well, today, guys, we're going to be talking about Eco. Eco is a simulated ecosystem. It's basically a survival game. I'm really poor at explaining it, but I've spent I think I've spent over 60 hours playing it.
Dude, you went a little insane.
It was pretty bad.
I'd say your experience is about normal.
The game said 2 days and some odd hours, so
yeah,
it's rough.
Yeah.
What does yours roughly? How many times have you played through Eco?
So I've run 3 or 3.5 servers, I think. And I go pretty hard in it too because it's a really fun game. So I have a very mild, relatable, very reasonable 459 hours in that
game. Oh gosh, very reasonable. Yes.
Yeah.
So let's have you give kind of the
synopsis.
Better description of the game, because my description doesn't do any kind of justice at all. It's correct, but it's technically correct,
best kind,
and not great for layman's terms.
So Eco Global Survival is a game made by Strange Loop Games is the only one they have. It's a survival game where it's not you that's trying to survive, it's the world. So there's 2 threats facing the world at all times. One is a big rock with some guy's face on it in the sky. Pretty sure he's a dev. I tried to figure out how to put my own face on it, and I never got there. That will crash land 30 days after the server is booted up. So
actual days, not in-game days, but like
30 real life days.
Real life days.
Down to the second. So the idea is the server runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 30 days. And at the end of that 30 days, you need to destroy the meteor by shooting it with 4 lasers with enough power to run them. In order to, when you start the game, you get rocks and sticks. So you have to tech up to the point of getting lasers. And on the way, the second threat rears its head, which is climate change. So if you are not careful with how you tech up and manage your waste products and careful about your deforestation, how much debris you leave behind, and so on and so forth, the world will experience desertification and flooding, and you will no longer be able to make food or do any of the things that you need to run a society, and you will not be there in time to shoot the meteor. It's a pretty simple concept. You got it pretty much correct.
Your explanation was significantly better, but
significantly. I'm gonna guess at least 150% better.
Yeah,
I'm gonna guess about 430 hours better somewhere.
Yeah,
exactly like that. Yeah.
So with eco, the point of it being you're trying to save your world, right? You're trying to build your civilization. You're trying to get yourself through different phases, and through those things you have to hit like different tiers of materials in order to utilize certain machines to help yourself evolve into those areas. So there's a lot of classes or specialties involved in the game that you get to choose as you start. The best one being
engineering. Everyone else is just support staff.
Cooking is the
wow.
best one.
So you're saying that you're the most important person.
I mean,
well,
without him, we couldn't make the lasers.
He also self-nominated himself as president, but you know that's fine.
No, I ran a very successful campaign against no one. It was just like real life politics. No, actually, credit where it's due. Hound was the one who built the lasers.
He did.
Yeah.
He did do it.
So still the most important, I ended up being support staff, which was deeply embarrassing. I will never play this game again.
Oh my gosh.
Till the next update.
So Hobez, what specialties did you end up choosing, and why did you start with those?
Well, okay, so we actually did this twice. The first time we did it, we died miserably because
horribly.
We'll talk about why we lost, but essentially people stopped playing. And when that happens, the meteor dies and everybody lost money. And so when I did that run, I was a tailor and I did the clothing and everything, and I hated it. It was horrible because it had such a you plateau and peak in that specialty really quickly.
Yeah.
So when we did the second round, everybody was saying that the chef or the cook is like the go-to person and they make all the money. And so that's what I chose. And in that one, there's basic cooking, which is like campfire cooking. And then you level up to like a kitchen and a stove and an oven. And then the very last thing was like cutting edge cooking, which was like making gasoline for cars. And I don't understand how it's biodiesel.
Yeah. So you also make things at that tier like Bear Supreme. You're using chemical processes to make food.
Yeah.
So you go up to like factory level tech.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess it kind of, I don't know. We spoiler alert, we beat the meteor in time. And so I never actually got that far. But I did get to the Bear Supreme and it was delicious.
We did not beat it in time.
That's
true.
We
cheated to beat it in time.
That's true.
Kind of.
Because people got sick and someone didn't have time. I don't know who that would have been. And so we ended up using some server admin commands to extend a week because of the loss of people.
Sounds
So
fake news. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
fake news.
we
Stop the
if
count,
we didn't
Collin.
do it, we wouldn't have made it. So
That's true.
we technically did not, but we did.
But we did.
And it felt great still.
It honestly, that hiccup, I think with like no one able to log on, I'm obviously willing to let a server get meteored. Hobbs was on the one where we made Meteor Lake. But
Meteor Lake was amazing.
It was amazing.
I couldn't find it. It was so big. Anyway, but like everyone genuinely wanted to keep playing. It was just people were sick or busy and it was right around, that was in late October, I believe.
Yeah, so I was like end of the month, Halloween.
People are taking their kids out and
festivities,
putting on costumes and stuff like that, normal things.
Just for the record though, I went to a couple work conferences during this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought a laptop with me to specifically play Eco still.
It was so funny.
Just saying.
Okay, so I want to point out
I was playing in the airport.
I believe you selfishly took your kids out trick-or-treating without bringing a laptop. So
I did.
Really, the Meteor thing is your fault.
I understand. I'll take credit. I'll take the blame. I understand. It's all my fault.
Oh my god.
The meteor happened because of Hobbs.
Yeah. Correct.
Put that on a t-shirt.
I would.
Well, the first server, I ended up not knowing what the heck I was doing because I came on super late. I think
you guys came on after it was already dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like I came on after Blake and Jason did by a couple days still, and they had already kind of maxed to their
already kind of
tailoring, and they were both tailors, which just didn't make sense to have two tailors because you don't need that much tailoring. And it depends on how many people you have.
I would say they're pretty
if
critical
you have a
early
10,
game.
Early game, they're
early
cool.
game, yeah.
Yeah.
Late game, it's like, what does this person do?
Yeah.
So.
They make one backpack for everyone in the server and then commit seppuku.
Yeah.
Yep. Pretty much. And occasionally make little tiny pieces of furniture to boost your experience.
At ridiculous prices, by the way.
Ridiculous prices. Yeah, early game prices are insane.
So let's explain that though.
Yeah.
So everybody has this specialty. Collin, what did you end up doing in the second server?
In the second one, I ended up after Jorb fixed it. I started with
hunting.
Yeah. And then I did butchering because Chef Hobez needed his raw meat.
We had a plan that you and I were going to create a business.
Offering, but whenever I went to deliver the sausage, he didn't want it.
So sad.
I didn't want it.
And then I went into tailoring.
And then you went into farming.
And then I decided Hobez hasn't been on for a couple days, so I'm going to become a chef.
And that made me angrier than
started the
feud.
It's actually, the economics in this game are really awesome, in my opinion. I swear to God, I've learned more about how economic systems work at a basic level playing Eco than I have in all of the courses I took in like high school and my little bit of university combined. Like it's so ridiculous how instructive it is.
So part of this game is you have the survival aspect of it, and then Jordan forces us to do capitalism.
Yeah,
and you are telling us that in the past you've done it and you kind of just share things and you don't make people pay and it's too easy, right?
Yeah, so as much as it like wounds my heart, enforcing capitalism is important because we did a communist server run. We had 5 people playing and it took us about 15 days to beat the game.
Wow.
Yeah,
Jeez.
way too
when
easy.
you work together.
Yeah, it turns
easy.
out when everyone works together, shares resources, and just works for the betterment of society, it's really easy to win that game. So I don't allow any of that.
So yeah, in our second server that we played, we had some amazing people. It was, who was it that built the town? I want to shout him out.
So the downtown was built by Aki, or Acacia VG, who is also a streamer. She reads books. It's very cool. And Spook, who is not super active outside of Eco. But I keep running Eco servers, and Spook immediately capitalizes on everything.
Yeah, she's an amazing person in the
She's
NotAVampire
great.
community.
Yeah,
she was fantastic at helping
Oh,
both
yeah.
Collin and I learn, and yeah.
Spook
it was
is good
crazy
people.
because I mean, me and Blake are coming in with like zero knowledge, and like we've done little research on like YouTube videos of like quick shortcuts and stuff, but when it came down to it, like Ash was teaching us, oh no, you need to do it this way, and this way before you can do that. Even Hound was like showing me how to do things with water and trying to like get water over to our houses and things like that. I mean, the whole community was just great on really relying on each other, but still feeding into the actual economy and paying for things.
Right.
Well, like the idea behind enforcing capitalism isn't to make the game less fun or to make everyone hate each other. It's just to make the game actually a challenge, right? It brings me a whole lot of joy to hear that the community treated you guys really well, because those are my friends. That's my community.
Well, they did an amazing job,
I love
and
them.
the town that they built was stunning.
Yeah, so that was
before we
phenomenal.
started, you guys set up the server and built us this amazing town, and everybody you could go in and you could purchase a little plot of land, and you could create a shop and sell your goods that you had specialized in. So I had
and
little
with that
restaurant.
too, it was what? It was like Roman themed.
It was,
Is
yeah.
that what you guys did, or
so the architectural work was mostly done by Spook, who is playing as Ashy Vane or Ash, and it was Greco-Roman. So Spook is an amazing architect. I was like, all right, I would like you to make a town because you're really good at this. I would like it to be Greco-Roman themed, and then Spook just made it. Aki helped a lot, especially with some of the more like some of the less fiddly bits. You guys never saw it, I don't think, but underground from the whole town is like hollow for fucking 30 blocks down.
No, I glitched.
I remember that.
I glitched in there, and I was just like, "What the heck?" Because it's when I was traveling and my internet was just unstable at one point, and all of a sudden, like I'm driving my truck, and then I just go boom and fall underneath, and I'm just like,
and you
"There's
saw
no way to
the
get
inner
out."
workings of the machine.
And it's all because the whole town, you can't disrupt the town because it's owned by the town, and so I can't even open a door.
It's so funny
to get my way out.
That's true, actually. Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, it's just this huge
There's an
blank
command
area with all these like stockpiles everywhere.
Yeah, all of the shops too had a false roof with like a layer of that was 2 blocks high, filled with storage chests. So there is a lot of little details that that Spook put in that I don't think many people got to experience or see. But that town was amazing. Like aesthetically, it was gorgeous, but functionally, it was incredibly useful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, basically everybody gets their own little shop. You can put your goods in it. You can set it up for sale. People come to your cash register and it's all automated. And you basically put in a chest. Like for me, I'd put like all my food. So like bagels, all the bagels. And then I would say, okay, sell these bagels for X number of dollars. And I would just make up a number.
Bear coin. Yeah.
But we called it bear coin in our game for various reasons outside of too much to explain. But apparently, Jordan is haunted by bears.
Absolutely, yeah. Have been since I was a child.
Yes.
Which was a while ago. Yeah.
Sorry, a while ago.
Well, yeah, I'm 30.
Okay. Yep.
But what else would I? Anyway,
I don't know.
so I can comment on the money is actually a lot more complicated than you guys may have realized too. So Eco doesn't set up a currency at all. You have to, like the townsfolk. We wanted to have one from day one, which meant we needed to get a mint in place. We needed to set up a series of laws to give people some starter currency, something which most pure capitalist societies don't do for some reason. We needed to make sure we needed to encourage people to use the coin rather than trading directly with each other as much as possible. Because if people can just trade directly with each other, they will tend to do that wherever possible. You could even see it when we were running the server, especially near the end, people found ways around using the currency. But it's super useful as a transfer medium because if you're offline, you can just put something in your store, set it for a certain amount of money, and then later you can use that cash, which really, I'm just explaining how money works in real life.
Right.
But it's in a video game and it's so well implemented that I now understand the purpose of money, which is not to accumulate as much wealth as possible. It's literally just there as a promissory note for an equal amount of goods or services.
It's a way for me to do a service here.
Yeah.
To then get your service here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bartering system, essentially. Yeah.
And it breaks down very quickly if it's done poorly.
Yeah. And it's very obvious when someone hoards the wealth.
What?
Yeah.
And they don't
all right. I've gotta touch base on this. Okay. Yes, I was the wealthiest person on the server.
That's one yes, I was the wealthiest on the server. Just casually throwing it out like you didn't have a full 50% of the money on the server.
Guys, it's literally he was like more wealthy than Elon Musk. Like, if you were to look at the money, he had 50% of all of Earth's money.
At one point, I had 1,500 bear coin, and the person below me, I think, was Spook, and she was at like 350.
Yeah, it was insane.
Spook was effectively a millionaire in that server. So
yeah.
So that gives you an idea of how much money Collin was hoarding. And the reason Collin had so much money was because of me. Because Collin had he did all the farming and he had all the resources and I needed it to make the
because
food.
before that, I couldn't make money before farming.
I know.
Because I chose
butchery stuff.
Because I did butchery and tailoring. And I can't make anything off the leather I sell except for at one point when we have what was it, powered carts?
So powered carts, steam trucks, and basically any other vehicle uses leather in huge amounts.
But I only stocked my store with 200 leather.
Yeah.
And it never sold out.
I bought you out once, but yes.
Did you? Okay.
I did, yeah. When everyone's needed a steam truck, I did buy you out.
Either way, at some point, Collin ended up with all the money.
Yeah, and I ended up with all the money, and it was mainly because of the farming, because everyone needed food, especially Hound and Chihuahua. They were food fiends.
Yeah.
Yeah, so their work was very labor intensive. So
yeah, for everybody listening, in order for people to do their specialty, so Hound started out as he was in mining, right? That was his first thing, I think.
Yeah.
And he was a smelter, but yeah.
Shell was in carpentry and logging.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to build things that they were using, like smelting, in order for him to smelt iron bars, he had to use a certain number of energy. And in order to get the energy, he had to eat a special diet that would give him the most amount of energy.
And it's basically just calories is
And
how the
it's
game
calories.
treats it.
So diet doesn't affect the amount of work you can do. It only affects the amount of experience you get.
Exactly.
Calories affect the amount of work you can do.
But either way, they needed like a poop ton of calories in order to do all the work they were doing, or the game just like stops. It comes to a
Yeah.
halt.
You
And
and,
so
you
food
could
is like-
immediately tell as soon as there's a food shortage, you can tell the server starts to slow down.
Well, people are eating.
They're
some of
eating
endemic
the tomatoes that for some reason just
They're like-
populated
they're like
in
weeds.
mass.
So every server I've run, there's been some plant, usually a food plant, that just fills the world for no goddamn reason that I can tell. Usually it's rice, so I was really happy to see it was tomatoes this time. Just give me something else to shove handfuls into my mouth. And usually, and it didn't happen this time, which was very surprising to me. Usually, the prickly pear in the desert goes extinct within a week.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
We didn't have much pickling pear that we used.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of prickly pear being farmed or anything, but for whatever reason, it's really sensitive to, I think, air pollution, so it just dies out really quickly.
Oh, that makes
Interesting.
sense.
Or debris,
Which we didn't have a lot of air pollution. I don't
We had
think.
a ton of air pollution
Well, at one point we did.
for
but
like
wasn't that
half
very
the server's
short?
life.
Oh,
No,
really?
yeah.
I-
So
It was
'cause-
just
'cause
all over
the-
on the island that we
the
decided
only
to put
time
it on.
that okay, because the only
Well-
time I saw it were the reactions when Spook started working on what was it, the tier
Concrete.
4? The concrete,
Yeah.
and her jungle died.
yes, it did.
Like
yeah,
everything was
Like-
black.
Like I walked past it and
We-
everything was just gone.
Yeah,
Yep.
at one point we had to go back through, and I was like harvesting a bunch of seed, and like we were going through and like replanting the jungle because it just
Mhm.
got completely killed. And
Yeah.
then Spook went and created Skull Mountain over in the far desert, and that
next
made
to
her-
the 12 stories of Flavor Town.
yes, the 12 stories of Flavor Town, where you could sell your spoiled food sometimes.
Something.
Yeah, well, I had to manually move stuff, and I was out of time by the time they filled up. But yeah, so the
let's talk
economy is really
about-
interesting.
I kind of want to talk about the food process and how that's done.
This is Hobbs' thing
Because
for sure.
that really attributes to like the kind of growth that you have to do through each specialty, and I feel like it's the easiest one to follow too. So when you first start off, you basically, as a farmer, you get a hoe, and
Maybe I should be a farmer.
maybe
No, I'm married. Never mind.
that's okay. It's being a farmer is overrated.
Mm.
My last name's Farmer, so it's fine.
My last name's unpronounceable Eastern European garbage.
Not surprised.
That's a real fact too. Not telling you what it
That-
is.
Vampire.
No,
Vampire.
it would in the old country it'd be pronounced vampire, but no,
No.
that's not correct.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so as a farmer, basically you have to go and you have to find where you want to farm. But you got to figure out what you're going to farm first and what's needed in the server. So there was a lot of communication with me and Hobez trying to figure out what he was going to create. But also, there's an element where people have taste buds.
Oh my gosh, it's the most infuriating
And
thing.
it
in
I
the
think
game.
it's great. I'm sorry, Hobbs, but I think it's a great addition to the game.
It's a great addition to the game. It needs to be balanced. It needs to be tweaked in a way that it makes sense. For instance, my character,
This is my favorite part.
his favorite thing. Okay, so I become this master chef. I took on the persona of Gordon Ramsay. I called myself Gordon Hobbsy, and
In
I
Hex
was
Kitchen.
making beautiful dishes that took like all these resources and all these upgrades and all these tiers that I had to get. and my favorite food in the entire server was raw meat. That was it. I didn't have to cook anything. I just had to eat raw meat over and over again, and I leveled
And
up
he
like
was
crazy.
fine.
I
And it's
would.
insane. Raw
would-
freaking meat.
I'd like to point out, Hobbs, you're a tiger.
I know, but the game doesn't know that.
Game did know that.
Game did
Clearly,
know that.
It found it out.
So I like the idea of characters having randomized food preferences, right? Like you don't get to pick what it is. People just have to try it and see if you like it or not. But it needs to be balanced in a way that there are different tiers of food. And I feel like at every tier you should have at least one food that you like.
I think that is true.
I don't know. I was making food up the
because
wazoo
there's
and
only
nobody liked
one
it.
that it likes that it screams out and broadcasts it broadcasts
It like
to
broadcast the whole
server.
server.
Hey, I love what was it that I
It was the
mine
fried
was?
hair haunches.
Yeah,
Yeah, for me it was
frickin'
Crimson
rabbit.
Salad, which
Mine was crimson salad too. It really liked it. And the thing I hated the most was, I ate something and it was like, that's the worst thing you've ever eaten in your life. And my character was like throwing up in the corner. Yeah,
I
it
never
was
got
bad.
anything like that.
well, you shouldn't have eaten. You shouldn't have cooked Tide Pods. I don't know what to tell you, Hobbs.
It's a struggle.
But I think it's important to point out the necessity of having all these different foods is if you have a balanced diet, you eat what your character likes, and then every now and again your character will have a craving for a certain food. And if you fill those cravings, your experience points, it bases your experience points on that diet.
It
also
gives you a
bases it-
multiplier.
Yeah. It also bases it on how nice your house is and how diverse your house is. If you have
What
a
kind
living
of
room and a
furniture you
kitchen
have?
and a bathroom and a multi-purpose room and a
living room,
industrial
basically.
room. So
Industrial rooms don't help your XP, but yeah,
they don't.
no, not at all.
Not at all.
As soon as you get industrial in a room, that room, it doesn't matter what furniture you put in there, it does not help. Which is really upsetting. I found my assembly lines to be very comforting.
Yeah.
Wow.
As soon as you put industrial in a room that
It
was
lowers
getting
it?
XP, it's gone. You don't
Interesting.
get any XP.
So those are the two.
And I figured that out the hard way.
So basically, your character has to have a good diet and a good house in order to gain experience. And the reason you need to gain experience is so that you can rank up through the I don't know,
The
I
levels
want
of
to
your
say,
specialty.
You can get your special.
yeah, so you can build your specialties, and so you can like go through the levels of industry needed to get to the lasers to get the meteor in time.
Yeah, because you basically level up the specialty that you choose, but the XP is helping get your next skill point so that you can unlock another specialty.
Yeah. And I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. If you don't focus on your XP to a certain extent, do you think you wouldn't be able to level up in time in the 30 days?
So yeah, I've actually I've experienced that personally because I'm always broke when I play this game. So the downside to being the guy that is driving forward industry is I have periods where I have all the money in the universe. I reinvest it into my business so that I can, make it so we don't die. And then I'm broke for until the next major spike.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for me almost every time to build a house. So I'm usually the one leveling up the slowest because I'm just trying to drive industry forward instead of taking care of myself. And yeah, there's been times where I straight up could not, I never mastered basic engineering on this server.
Oh, wow.
Literally the entry level thing. I never finished it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the interesting part about that is I had the same issue at first when I just was not making money. I was like, I can't buy materials to make my house.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up making a deal with Spook because I built my house in the desert and I happened to build in a spot that had a lot of sand.
Mhm.
And so I would just spend hours and hours digging sand, and she would give me one piece of material to build my house per like 2 or 3 sand that I
Mhm.
gave her.
You were
And
getting ripped off big time. Holy
oh yeah,
shit.
I know. She occasionally threw me like some extra material for all the digging I was doing, but like because that was her material that she needed. She needed lots and lots of sand,
Yeah.
but she built her place in the middle of the jungle,
Yep.
and so she needed sand somewhere, and so I was the sand delivery for for the first several for at least the first week. I probably farmed her. I want to say close to 5,000 sand, probably.
It's
Yeah,
bananas.
that sounds about right. And then she found a sand deposit under her home.
Yeah.
Yep. Once she dug far enough, her freaking hole in her property was insane.
Mhm.
It's just around and around. There were several times where it was so big that like animals would randomly spawn in there, and so
Mhm.
she'd have me come in and just hunt all the animals that were popping up in there. It was great.
I could have used your services on the road from the desert that my uh we made a company this time around, which I don't think I'll do again. But we had a company, and we decided for whatever reason to park in the desert on the opposite side of the world to the town.
Yeah, I don't know
So
why you went there.
because that's where they set up, I was not first. And I was like, well, I'm gonna need a lot of metal, so I'll set up next to the guy who said he's gonna make me a lot of metal. Anyway, I had to make a road from there all the way to town, and every time I would drive on that stupid fucking road, I would hit like 15 deer, 3 badgers, and like a kid or two. Like it was ridiculous the amount of stuff I had to duck and weave around. There were a huge number of times where I would take my wooden cart across the bridge, and a deer would just straight up headbutt it into the river, just out of nowhere. The animals in that game
Which was
need
a
an AI pass
problem.
real bad.
Animals are ridiculous because you would come back onto the server after being offline for a couple hours, come back, and your cart is now in the water and you had it full of materials, and so now you have to go get a hand cart and unload the materials into there and then unload them somewhere else and then come back and get another load.
Yeah.
And it was a big freaking pain. There was one time where I was like, oh no, I can't believe this happened, and Spook came and like helped me bury out of it.
One of
'Cause
my
it was
favorites
ridiculous.
was when we'd send each other messages on the Discord. We'd send like a screenshot of like, "Hey, somehow your truck is upside down right now. Sorry about that. Like, best of luck."
You're
Oh god.
you're somehow blocking the entire road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then someone decided that they would be a prankster on the server and would just change some of the signs by the road to say things like what was it? Farmer's entrance, and it would point to the opposite side where there was
Farmers
just
entering highway.
yeah, it would just point to like this cliff and it would go down. So one day I just decided, you know what? I'm just gonna record a video of me falling. And so I literally just drove into this random ocean.
It's too bad we never caught whoever did that.
Yeah, whoever that prankster
Yeah.
was.
Mhm.
I mean, they were a very funny prankster, and if I ever knew who they were, I would probably shake their hand. But there's just no way to tell. And
We'll never
honestly,
know.
I'm
Yeah.
probably going to be shutting the server down very shortly. So
Sad. Is it
Yeah.
because of the garbage on your property?
it's not because of that. No, it's because I've been checking the server stats and no one's using it. So instead of paying for a server no one's going to use, I'll find a different game that we can all play together.
That makes sense.
It does.
So, okay, I want to ask Jordan, you've played it a couple times. What do you think makes a good server and what makes a bad server, and why does it work sometimes and it worked this time? And
Kind of.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It
For me-
absolutely
for
worked
me-
this time.
for me, I would say it has to have participation,
Yep.
which sounds dumb, right? But like with all these different specialties, if somebody isn't doing their job, it feels like it comes to a big halt.
I would say
And we had how many actual we had what, like probably 14 people join the server or 12. But
I'd say
there was
about 14 or
probably
15, yeah.
there was probably a core like 8 of us that
Mhm.
were actively playing and spent more than like 10-15 hours actually in the game.
So I would say 3 things make a server work well. One is having a critical mass of people. So if you've only got a few people on your server, you need to make sure that a bunch of settings, like server settings behind the scene, are set up to accommodate for that, because the game is not designed for solo play or for like 3 or 4 people to play. It's designed for 20 to 50
Yeah,
people to
I
play
just
on it.
Yeah,
realized that.
like food
There's-
not
there's-
spoiling.
There's no way you could play this game solo. Does anybody
you
do
can.
that?
Yeah, you absolutely
can.
can actually.
It takes you forever, I'm sure, or you have to like unlock all the specialties.
Yeah,
with-
I mean,
with
you just
admin
increase your
codes.
XP rate by a ridiculous amount, and
Yeah.
there's some
Yeah.
other things you do. But
Yeah, I
I
guess
don't
you
know.
have
I
to
find it very
change the
boring, to be
settings.
honest.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting. I never even thought of playing this game by myself. So
well, you didn't need to.
yeah, I didn't need to.
Yeah.
Before I started running servers of it, I tried it solo, and I was like, this game looks like it would be fun if I wasn't trying to figure out how this game works while a rock was leaning over me and being like, "I'm gonna get you, little man." So a critical number of people, and I'd say that number's probably around 10 to 15 people, depending on dedication. Then you need to have a strong economic system. So it doesn't matter how you run your economy, but you need to make sure that that economy is running at all times. The thing that killed my last server was the economy shut down because of regulatory capture, actually, which is phenomenal in my head. So the server shut down because one person had all the money, and there was no way for that person, without like literally giving it away, to divest themselves of the amount they had. So people stopped showing up. Straight up, there was no way.
And
for them to get money.
was that your chef for that server that was?
No, actually, it wasn't. It was someone who took a lot of specialties. He went really, really hard in it, and basically just took over a bunch of specialties from people who were on the server, did him better, and collected all the money on the server. So the problem was when there was an election not long after this became a problem. He won it because he had the most playtime. Basically, people assumed that he would be best because he was around most often, but he didn't really understand how to run the government, or like. And I'm trying to be very kind here because he's not a bad guy or anything, but like he didn't understand how the economy really worked or how the law system in Eco worked. So he made some changes to some early laws I'd implemented to avoid this exact problem. That makes sense for like the things he was trying to do made sense, but it didn't work the way he thought it did. So everything just shut down. The server stagnated and everyone left pretty much. There was no point. You couldn't make money. You couldn't get materials. You couldn't get items. You can't hire anyone. So yeah, the rich took over government and the economy shut down.
Well, and it you bring up a good point, because somebody got really mad when you started implementing taxes.
Mhm.
And you were like, I'm going to start doing property tax. And Collin
Oh my
was
gosh!
like, every night before it
I
happens,
was about to lose my mind.
I'm gonna unclaim all my land and then
Yeah.
reclaim it the next day. And I'm like,
Well-
Collin, if you don't do this though, the government runs out of money. Like, it needs to have some money to function
Well,
for
at
us to play the
at that
game.
point though, I wasn't the monopoly, right?
No, you
I
weren't. You weren't that rich
I
then.
was still low, and at the start
And-
of the game, you guys gave us all these the property,
the land claim.
the land
papers.
claims.
Yeah, that
And
was
so I
something we were
just like,
trying this time.
great. I'm just gonna claim all
You
my
just went
land over here,
crazy.
and it's great. But then I literally had 120 land claims out, and I was just like, if he's gonna charge like $1 or a bear coin per land claim, I'm gonna be broke.
It was pretty
Like,
funny. It
what
was
do I
pretty
do?
funny.
Like,
You're like,
my
you're like
house
campaign to end
isn't small
taxes.
because I had Spook build my house for me.
So the cool thing is with the law system, I could exclude. We never actually did property taxes for what it's worth.
Yeah,
But,
I don't think it ever actually.
No,
implemented.
I didn't need
was
to.
very
I found
critical
other
of it.
ways to do it. Property tax is pretty fucking brutal. So
Yeah, he found the way that me and Blake were getting around some of the sales tax.
yeah.
'Cause
I
instead
shut
of using
down.
the stores, we would just direct transfer.
Yeah, I shut that down. I closed that loophole, and I did some other things as well. Actually, most of what I did was actually decrease government spending. It was very conservative of me.
So nice
But
of you.
Well, you know, I don't want to. I didn't want to disrupt things too much. But the good thing with eco is I could set specific areas as a district, so I could literally cookie cutter out your house and then charge you property tax for everything outside that. Or I could have made it so that you have less than one coin per property tile, or that there's a certain number that you have before the tax starts to apply. There's a few ways to do it, and then there's other ways to mitigate as
Can
well.
you also do it based on like specialty? So let's say
No.
I'm a farmer and I have a bunch of outside land.
Mhm.
No? Okay.
No, you can't. But what you can do is incentivize farming. So farmers get hit hardest by property taxes, obviously. But the way you deal with that is that you incentivize planting crops. So farmer gets a certain amount of money every time he plants a crop automatically from the government. It's literally government subsidized farming, something that we have in real life, right? And it's just there to make sure that the farmer, literally the bedrock of the entire server, doesn't like end up eating dirt and shutting down the server, right? So there's lots of ways to mitigate taxes. They're not a hammer; they can be a scalpel. You just have to know how to do it, and that is less obvious than you would think.
Well, and it's insane to me that these developers have created a game.
Strange Loop Games.
Strange Loop Games has created a game that lets you learn that.
Yeah.
Like, it's so interesting. Like if somebody were to come to me and be like, "Hey, do you want to play a game about economics?" I'd be like, "No, thank you.
Oh.
That sounds horrible." But you play this game and it's so engaging and so much fun.
Yeah.
And you're like halfway through, you're like, "Am I learning things while I play this stupid game?" Like, it's weird.
You actually are. That's something I wanted to talk about. To shout out Strange Loop Games is they actually set up the game the way they did because it's not just a game for old bearded guys like us. It's also they bring it to schools and they'll set up servers for schools to teach like economics, how a government works, how taxes work, and kind of an introduction to climate and the environment. So they've actually done quite a lot of work with schools and educators to try and make some of the more like some of the less sexy concepts that a teacher has to deal with more fun. And I think they nailed it because, like I said, I've learned a ton, and I'm not a child; I'm an adult.
Well, and it's interesting because I've been talking to other people outside of the server, telling them about this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're and like people will be like, "Oh, what games are you playing lately?" And I'm like, "I'm playing this game called Eco."
Mm-hmm.
But I almost don't feel like you can say it's a game. It's almost like a social experiment that you're like a part of for 30 days.
It's like adopting Second Life and having an actual like in-game job.
Yeah, it's like part-time job simulator.
Because that's what it becomes. It's a part-time job simulator. Because you literally spend to be successful. I think you at least have to spend probably a week. What, at least 20 hours?
It depends on your familiarity with the game a lot. So, like, people who are on their second or third server, for example, straight up won't sell goods until they have an upgrade worth crafting. Excuse me. Worth crafting the goods over. Like, there's some small things that you can do that mitigate the amount of time you have to spend playing the game. But of course, you have to learn that stuff,
right?
And that takes time.
Well, and my thing too is I almost felt this obligation to the other people that have committed to playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like I have to like before bed, I've got to go on and make sure just 5 minutes, just make sure that my shop is stocked with food, because I know people are going to be playing overnight, and if there's not enough food, they can't play the game, or they can play the game, but it's at a lesser level of enjoyment than it could have been if I had held up my end of the deal. You know, and I've never had a game that made me feel that way.
Yeah, you start to feel bad because you're like, oh shoot, I didn't get on today to do this, and now there's ramifications, right?
Yeah,
or if someone just decides,
ramifications.
Yeah, and so if someone just stops playing for a week, like we experienced, the whole world stops.
Yeah,
you can't do anything. And so at one point, it was like 3 or 4 days before our laser event, me and Hobbs were turning out food, but it kept spoiling because people weren't buying, people weren't logging in. At that point, Hound already had the lasers set up, and so him and Shilawa were like, we're peacing out because we got our part done.
Yeah,
like we don't need food anymore. And it was maybe Ash that was playing, and me and Hobbs and a couple other people would randomly come on. But at that point, when we had the lasers and we were just waiting to fire them off, the
game's over.
The game's over, which sucks, because
it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be. And there was actually a server that's been going for 6 months.
Yep.
And they've built these huge, massive cities. And it's insane. I actually want to share my screen here for a second. I found something on Eco's website that I found pretty cool, and I'll explain this for the non-video listeners. But basically, it shows what developers. You guys see this? Okay.
The eco tree.
Yeah, it shows exactly like the foundation, who created what, like the performance of the server is done by these IT nerds over here. The graphics engines are done by these guys, and then the person that I want to talk to, producer Todd here, created the spoiling system. Want to have some choice words with you, Todd.
You know what? I'm gonna come to Todd's defense, because I think it was straight up that and the taste system. It may be one of the best additions that they've made.
I think it's a really cool addition.
Job in general. So it sucks if you're making food and the food that you're making spoils. But it's awesome for the cook. That food spoils, because I cannot tell you the number of times I logged on, all my food had fucking spoiled. So I had to run over to Hobbs' shop and buy more food.
I think I wish they had a little bit more. They would balance it out just a smidge,
Doing a podcast here.
Yeah.
There was a thing you can get in the game. You can get an ice box, and if you put the food in the ice box, it makes it last 20% longer. And I'm like,
or
great.
You can get a fridge later.
Yeah, later.
Yeah,
end game. Like
how later
the
did
day
we get
of
it?
The day of we destroy the
lasers?
laser, I get the fridge. I was so mad.
Ugh.
So they need to make it a little bit more accessible if they're gonna do the food spoiling. Make it so that it's a little bit easier, I think.
Well, that's actually a server setting, so I could have made it better. I didn't because I don't have time these days. If you guys could see my calendar, you would cry. But
next time, second server admin.
The problem is because of the company I used to set it up, that would give you credit card access for my credit card. So, but
the last 4 digits.
Well, no, because you can just buy servers. It's saved, right? Anyway,
well, I have an IT company. You can use one of my servers.
We might talk, but we so that is the setting you can change. But I'd like to give you guys some history of eco. So historically, and I'm sure you could still find the guides, there were meta meals. So there's everyone would eat the same thing every time.
I found it. Yeah, I found the guides.
Yeah, and they everything would be the same forever. People would buy 200 of the most meta food, and then they would never buy it again.
Yeah.
Ever. Because they just throw it in their fridge and job's done.
Yeah.
So the cook would have all of the money until they suddenly had none, and they'd stay that way.
Yeah.
The way the spoiling and the change to how food is liked or hated, I think that's one of the most innovative decisions that they've made with this game, and it's awesome. I think it's a great change. I know you guys hate it, but it's actually really smart.
I appreciate what you did though with Flavortown, that we could actually go and we could sell our spoiled food, so we weren't losing we were still losing a lot of money that we could have potentially made, but we were still getting a good baseline back. So whenever I would take my truckload over, I'd get 15 bear coin.
Yeah. That's for me. It was priced at 0.01. That's madness.
Yeah.
That's so you had a dump truck full of spoiled food.
Yep.
Buy less food, you fucking.
So
here's the thing though, because
sorry, no, you were a farmer, so okay.
For him,
you end up farming so much, and so if people weren't buying food, or if Hobbs was gone for a day,
yep, stuff he harvested would go bad, and
Did you have a silo set up? Because silos act as refrigerators as well.
I did, yes. At one point, I got a silo, and it helped.
Yeah,
but it's still. But at some points I would have so many crops of one kind, because it was hard to gauge what Hobez needed to be able to do that. So I would literally send him at 2:00 in the morning
He'd be like
a screenshot of all my inventory, and I'd say, you need to make things with this, this, and this, because it's going to go bad.
I hear you. I would like to offer some insight into what it's like to not work with food. I had a steam truck for sale that never sold. Those were 250 bear coin each.
Dang.
Yeah, that's 250 bear coin worth of material that I literally could not throw out.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying, but I think the issue is a little more widespread than you may believe, and also
we're definitely
and
Collin
and I see that
definitely biased,
because tailoring as well. I had so many things up for tailoring. There's people who still didn't buy a backpack.
Well, that was more to do with the age of the server than anything. And also, I feel like backpacks are more useful. I feel like they should be more of a focus early game than late game.
Yeah.
Because by the time you get the big bear pack, which is the biggest one, you also have a truck. So why would you bother with a big backpack? You could just load stuff in your truck, and the world's covered in roads, and It's a
Well, and
very
I think-
different thing.
I think it made sense. I think I was probably the person that it made most sense to have backpacks because I was
Hunting.
either hunting, and so
Mhm.
I needed that space because I could hold maybe three boar, and
Mhm.
then I was full. And
Mhm.
then when I got the upgrade, I could hold like 6 boar.
Great.
You know, again, it is pretty smart of them to do this because what they're essentially teaching you is supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're teaching you, well, don't make so much food, dummy. Like if
Mhm.
nobody's buying that particular food, stop making it.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
and so it makes sense for them to do it. Where I ran into problems with it and where I got frustrated the most with it is, for example, Hound. Hound had weird food preferences
Mhm.
that were just set up arbitrarily for him.
Shark soup.
Yeah, he wanted shark soup. Okay. And in order to make shark soup,
That's
you
illegal,
have to
I think.
do
You got to go fishing.
you have to in order to make it, you have to get like 12 different resources. And
Which-
it costs X number of dollars because
Oh my.
Collin sets the price for the food and the resources. And so I go and I buy it and I get all the food and I make him all the soup and I do all the calories to make it all for him. And I know he's going to buy it. Okay. I know it. Like, he's told me he wants it. He says it. I
Mhm.
make all this food. I spend all this time and all this money. And then that day he gets called into work and he can't play the game. And it all goes bad. And that's where I'm like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
turn it off for a day. I don't know. Like,
I do
that-
think that the
that's-
fishing mechanic needs the most work
maybe.
because that should be something under hunting because like you have to make like the fishing table, I think,
you do,
with
yeah.
the hunting specialty. But when you go fishing,
You
you
don't
don't
get
get
experience,
experience for it.
which is
Hmm.
lame.
And so it's like, why am I
Wonder why
wasting
they
my
did
time
that.
fishing if I don't get any experience?
I wonder why they did it that way. There's got to be a reason.
Yeah. I think maybe in a patch they'll fix it because it is kind of
I hope
weird.
so. Because
That
I
is
think
weird.
I think it's fairly new.
Fishing? No, it's
Has
not.
it been? Oh, it's not. Oh,
No,
geez.
it's been
'Cause
around for a while.
I didn't notice it at all the last time.
It was there. It's been there for.
I was hunting with my bow and arrow in the water,
first server.
hunting sharks.
Oh, in the water.
You can do that. Yep.
Because someone was selling sharks, and I was like, "This is a great way for me to just make money really quick. I can just go get boar. He's buying them for 5 bear coin. Like, great.
Mhm. I think in that server it was Bonch coin, but yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
It started as Binch coin and then it got changed to Bonch coin because we accidentally deleted the mint. So it was the Wish version of the original currency. So yeah, it's been around for a while. I do know that they are planning to add boats very soon. So, which I'm excited for. I'm going to be a harbor master. But I wonder if there's plans to work on fishing around that time as well, or I don't know what their plan is. I'm sure they have a development roadmap that I could check, but I'm not
Is the
going
game
to. So.
is the game officially released or is it like in beta or I don't
It's
know?
kind of been in beta for a very long time.
Okay.
My impression is that they're still making it, still working on it, and like they are. I'm not sure how.
yeah.
It's
Their
not a
website
wild.
says current status: beta is released and
Yeah.
open for players.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an amazing game. Like I like talking about Eco quite a lot because it's an amazing game and they deserve credit and as many eyes on it as they can get, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah, but they've been working on it for I think since before I was married, and I've been married for half a decade.
Gay.
My wife just called me gay.
I think it's
We're-
a just overall, as you were just saying, it's an amazing game.
Mhm.
But again, I don't even think I'd call it a game. It is an experience. It is something you've got to like Like if we were to do this again, I would have to like legitimately talk to my wife and be like, would it be all right if I committed to this for another 30 days?
Just bring her with you.
There you go.
Yeah.
But it's something that it's not like the new God of War, you know? I can like
No.
play it for a couple hours, turn it off, go to work.
Yeah.
Like this game is literally something you have to commit to. And
Yeah, it's a
there was
thing.
times during conference calls that I would literally just I wasn't doing anything on the conference calls, so I would just be on Eco while the conference call was going, and I'm just sitting here listening and occasionally taking notes.
Mhm.
And with that, this is gonna sound like a bad endorsement of the game, but I'm glad the 30 days are over. like I'm
Yeah.
glad
Yeah.
I get to do this experience and be a part of it. But now I'm happy that it's done and I can go back to life for a minute. And down
Yeah.
the road, I'll play again and I'll do a different specialty. But I need it to be off for just a little while.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Doing it back to back is
Yeah.
that's a lot.
or even long term. I found the life cycle of a server is usually when it opens, a whole lot of people join, and everyone's excited, and they are all picking specialties. And then after the first week, a lot of those will drop off. They'll realize what the game is, and they'll be like, I don't know about this, and they'll take off.
Perfect.
But then you'll get a
Perfect
good
example is Fighting Ginger.
Yep.
Well, he had a bunch of life stuff going on though, right?
He did.
We did,
But
yeah.
and he won't be mad at me saying this. We've talked about it, and he's like, you know what? It's just not my thing. Like
Yeah, fair enough.
it's too much of a commitment. I don't want to let people down. I don't really like the game mechanics. And
Yeah.
so I think you get super
Yeah.
hyped to play it, and once you realize what it either is for you and you go hard at it like everybody did on the server, or you're just like, no, have fun, guys. You
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think he did maybe 3 hours on the new server.
Yeah.
Like
He
enough
did.
enough to cut into a rock and he was good.
He put up some fun penis-based signs in his shop.
He
did.
did, that's true.
So after the first week, you kind of get the people left over are kind of the core group. So they're the people who like will probably be there till the end, and they fill in the gaps that are missing for the people who are no longer showing up.
Right.
And they're the spooks and the Devics and the Hobbses and the me's of the server, right? They're there, they're in it to win it. And then after some time, like after the 20-25 day mark, somewhere in there, people start to drop off, even the more dedicated ones. As the meteor gets closer, there's a big push by like a very core group of people. Like in my experience, it's usually between 1 and 3 or 4 people to get things done to win the game. But a lot of other people, around that stage seem to be spinning their wheels a little bit, waiting for the people who actually have something to do it.
Yep.
And then once the meteor is gone, so's everyone else. Like it's just over. And I know we had on our agenda to talk about what happens after the meteor, but the short answer is nothing. Everyone leaves. I've run a server without a meteor before, and that was a short-lived one. It lasted 2 weeks.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the meteor is an awesome game design idea because it keeps people invested, and it's a constant, obvious reminder of what it is you're trying to do, right? And I find the game's lessened without it. But that may be different in a bigger community or in any number of ways, but that's been my experience.
Yeah, I think I probably would have gone longer than 30 days and kept playing as long as there were other people that were invested.
And that's
in
the
it
kicker.
Still. And like I know Spook was the same way. She loves the building aspect, would have loved to have kept going and going and going. But when everyone else drops off, it's like, okay, so what do we do? Because now you can't get certain materials, so now you're waiting for your specialties, but you've reached a point where you've already got 7 specialties, and now it takes 10 to 15 days to get your next specialty.
Yeah.
And when you don't have food, you don't have the XP.
Sorry.
Well, you're fine.
Yeah,
I
it's
took up cooking.
it's yeah. I mean, the game has a lifespan. The devs are aware of that, and like that's fine. Like I said, I think I've run 4 or 5 servers now, and I will run it again. Next major update, I'm sure I'll be right back in Eco playing it again.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And like I said, I will gladly play it again someday. But I
Maybe
will.
talk to.
Yeah,
maybe
I would
once
have
every
to, like,
2 quarters.
I would have to seriously like set aside time to be like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, you know.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never had a game that is like that. I've never played a game like that before, where I've have a true commitment to it. But it's not. That makes it sound unenjoyable, because it's definitely enjoyable. It's
It
definitely a
sounds like
fun
an
experience.
obligation, but it's not really. It's a
Yeah.
it's a social like a community thing that
Yeah.
you can do, and that community has certain expectations and social constructs. Like it's like hanging out with a group of friends. If everyone's hanging out with a group of friends and they're all doing one activity, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to come do the activity with us?" They expect you to do the activity when you get there.
Yeah. I would almost liken it to like playing a D&D campaign, you know?
Exactly.
Like
Yep.
you commit to a group of guys, I'm going to come every week or every 2 weeks, whatever you have it set at. And if you don't show up, the group's like, "Hey, what do? Your character's not here. You're missing the experience."
Yeah.
And so it's interesting having a video game like that. I loved it. I thought it was amazing.
It's just like
That's an
being part
awesome
of like
analogy.
a WoW guild too, or because
Or
as
Final
soon as
Fantasy
your tank
14
drops out,
FC, just saying.
you got to find a new tank, right? Or Final Fantasy.
What's
my
the
other addiction?
what's the copy pasta? The
Oh God, who knows what the coffee pasta is? Who could possibly quote the entire thing? That is a game so good that a meme made by the community is literally just an ad. Everyone should play that game. But we're talking about Eco. I want to focus on that.
For sure.
Well, we've definitely gone over time, but I'm not mad at it because
fine.
we had a good conversation.
Yeah.
What do you guys rate this in your standard A to F rating system?
A to F is, I'm guessing F stands for fucking great, best game I've ever played.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I would rate this probably second or third highest. And the things that I think hold it back are that it is not feature complete. There are some things that are worse. For example, paper milling as a skill just doesn't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
It gives you a bookshelf, which like neat.
Yeah.
There are certain skills that are just better at the game than others, which, you know, I think a big part of that is because you just need certain things, right? That's how the world works. So feature complete is obviously something holding it back. I would say some of the bugs can be a little bad. I would say the net code needs some work because there are some glitches that can happen server side. The memory leak issue that I have been informed is fixed, but I can tell you is not. You have to turn your game off every 20-30 minutes or so, otherwise your computer will light on fire and then ask you kindly to stop playing Eco, which is fine if you're only playing for 30 minutes, but we just spent an hour and a half talking about how we could not put the game down. So
right.
I mean, I didn't have those. Well, I have a supercomputer, so
do I.
And you were having issues because I would be able to play for 5 hours straight and I wouldn't drop.
You don't drop. The game starts to slow and turn into a slideshow.
I did notice that on occasion when I was hunting, I couldn't pick up animals anymore.
Yep.
So that's part of the issue I'm talking about.
And I remember playing, and all of a sudden, Shell would leave and come back, and leave and come back, leave and
Yeah.
come back, and I'm like,
What are you doing?
girl, do you got to do something? Like, go do it. Stop playing this game. And she's like, no, it's the memory leak thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah, so there's that. Feature complete would be good. And the animal AI is a real pet peeve of mine.
Yeah,
The fact that
bad.
that animals run toward you more often than they run away is super weird. And like it kind of makes me question if you need camouflage clothing, because just stand still and wait and they'll run into your bow. Like,
I gotta say, camouflage clothing still helps a ton.
okay, well, you were the hunter, so you would know.
And the tailor that made it.
You're just saying it helps so people would buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
For
the one hunter on the server.
Yes, yeah. Well, a couple people bought camouflage. I saw more than one person rocking it. Yeah, yeah. I want to say Shell bought it. I don't know.
No, Shell bought some of my other clothing when I got the advanced stuff, but
the advanced stuff is cool.
So it's cool, but you don't get it until end game, and so no one buys it. So I just gave everyone free hard hats for the laser event. It was
that
great.
was awesome. So I think those things are holding it back somewhat, but what they have something truly magical here. Bob saying it's a community event or an experience, that's 100% correct. This game it is one of the best games I've played. It's amazing. I really don't want to sound negative about it, because I want whoever's listening, whoever's watching, I want them to know that this is a very, very good experience. There are some issues, and those are the issues. But seriously, amazing game.
Yeah. Well, and for me, I just had a blast doing it. Almost in like I don't do like role-playing games and stuff very often, right? Like I don't do like I have like a D&D group that I'll go and play with and whatnot. But the fact that I like pretended to take on the persona of Gordon Ramsay, that made it like 10 times more fun. And
especially when people would like draw pictures of you and post them in the channel.
Yeah, there's fan art. Yeah,
it was so fun.
People in the community are like making animations of my character cooking food. Like it just made it. I've never had a game like that. I've never been a part of a game that lets you have that much fun and be in this fake world that you get to play in. And so for that aspect, it's a 10 out of 10 game, right? Like it's just an amazing experience. For me, the commitment is a problem. I wish there were ways to take a day off, and not upset everyone. Yeah. And I don't know how they would do that, right? Like in real life, if you miss a day of work, you got to make up for it, like or you know that you're going on vacation, and so you try to get a couple days work ahead of time, or so I guess they're emulating real life in that aspect. Like you can't just bail on the group. But
I don't know how they do it, but I know how we would do it. I just every weekend just extend the meteor 48 hours. Yeah, like you guys have a weekend. Like,
can you do that for my job, please? Can you just call my clients and be like, sorry.
For your real life job, I could call whoever you want, buddy. I can't promise nothing, but I'll call whoever. I love talking to people. It's great.
So I think for that aspect of the game, it's for me is a negative experience, because I almost like was getting anxiety to play the game. not that bad, but
yeah,
there were times where I was like, you know what? They're just not going to eat today. Sorry.
Yeah. I didn't run too much into that because of the level of time that I spent into it. But there was a couple days where I was just like, I'm just not going to farm today, because before I had a tractor.
God,
it took so long.
It took so long because you're doing it all by hand. You either use your sickle or you're just sitting there pushing E on every plant to pick, and I didn't have gathering at the time.
Mistake.
Big mistake. Get
Yeah.
gathering first, then farming,
Yep.
because the amount that you pick up is so much more. You go from picking up 3 rice to like 7 or 8.
Mhm.
Yeah,
whoever made you that tractor must be a real hero.
they were. Oh man, when you said that I could have a tractor, I was
was pretty funny.
saved me so much time. And then I had you make me a second tractor, but I forgot to ask you to make the attachments.
So you had
So I
cycle
never
them.
No, I never used the second tractor.
I
It
feel
just-
like I did
It
make a
just
set
sat
of
at my
attachments,
cotton
though.
farm. You made it for the first one, but not the second one. Or at
Okay,
least
well,
you didn't put it in the store.
Okay, there may be some sitting in a box somewhere in my factory. But
Yeah, I would say I would give the game a solid B+. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that could fix it, but the community aspect, when you have the right people and the right server, and NotAVampire's community is just
They are an A+.
amazing.
They are my favorite
for
mortals.
helping out, for just chatting with. I spent hours and hours just chatting about random things with so many people on the server. It was phenomenal.
Yeah,
And
I've
so
I've
you end
been
up
blessed
walking out with a lot of cool friends too.
Yeah, I've been blessed with a very awesome group of people that come hang out with me for some fucking reason. Some weird guy wearing a freaking cloak.
Well, speaking of community, where can people find your community?
Oh, usually under a rock or something. So we I'm a Twitch streamer. My handle is NotAVampire, I promise. So you can go to twitch.tv/NotAVampire, I promise, to check out my streams. During those streams, we post the Discord link. You can join that Discord as a member of the community, and there's a whole lot of stuff we do. Obviously, we run, like we've been talking about, we run community games. I'll run usually one survival game at a time, and everyone can kind of hang out in that. We also have a Final Fantasy XIV free company, which we are trying to convince more people to get into. And we talk. We have memes channels. It's a very welcoming, open community. We're very LGBTQ friendly. We're just the kind of people you would want to hang out with. And if you find anyone in the community that's not that, please let me know. Yeah, I'm very, very proud of my community right now. This has been awesome to hear your guys' perspective, especially yours, Devik, because you've been less involved in the community as a whole. Hearing that they treated you guys as well really warms my heart. I'm very
Yeah,
blessed.
should be a very proud papa.
I am indeed. Yeah, so please check me out on Twitch. If you don't show up, I will know, and I will stand outside your window until you invite me.
Awesome. And you guys can find the link to his Twitch channel by just going into the description of the podcast or the description of the YouTube section. And thank you guys so much for joining us and listening in. We hope you like this episode. If you are at all interested in joining an eco server, feel free to reach out to one of us. We'd love to have you guys join in NotAVampire's Discord to participate in said server. You can also join our Age of Geek Discord. We'll have both links down below as well. And thank you guys. We'll sign out, and everybody have a great day. And remember, don't invite the vampire in.
This has been an Age of Geek media production.